Hi, I'm Joel Persinger from Practical Defense Systems. We're out here at the fabulous P2K range. It's a beautiful summer day on the range, and we're here to talk about self-defense handguns. In this series, we'll talk about different kinds of handguns, but in this first video, we're going to talk about revolvers. Now, for home defense, one of the guns that's chosen quite often is the revolver. It's an older piece of technology, been around a long time, but they work really, really well. We're going to talk about their pros and cons, and we'll show you a little bit about the differences between a large revolver and a small one, how that's going to affect you, and whether you might want to choose that as your choice for a home defense gun. But before we get into the details of home defense and which one might be best for you, well, we're on the range, so I thought we'd show you we had a little fun shooting them. All right, time to shoot this thing a little bit. What we've got here is a Smith & Wesson Model 66, and I've just got it stoked with some 38s. Let's try it on the steel and see if we can hit the steel targets. That was fun. I got one left. That's what happens, you know. You got the 6 gun, you think it's shooting 5. All right, let me see if I can hit the red can. Oh, that worked. Okay, we got to load it up again. Again, as I was saying, this is one of the things about revolvers is, you know, they don't hold as much ammunition, so you have to be aware of that. And you know, you get yourself a speed loader or something, and that helps a little bit too. All right, let's try the silver-colored can. Whoop, missed him. There we go. And the green one. And now the 2-liter. That ought to make a big mess. Holy smoke! So that just shows you the revolver is an effective tool, and it really does work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh, that works pretty good. Go. And now the green one. And the big 2-liter goes. Holy smoke! Let's see if we can get him on the ground. There you go, and another time. So on the table here I've got a selection of revolvers. By no means is this the entire selection of revolvers available by any stretch of the imagination. These just happen to be the ones that I have in my safe. So I'll show them to you one at a time, and then we'll talk about size and the reason why some are small and some are large. And I've got some ringers I'll show you along the way too. But I will tell you that what I've got here is a couple Smith & Wessons and a Ruger and a Taurus. There are a whole lot of other brands that I'll mention and probably some that I'll forget. So forgive me where that's concerned. Keep in mind, we're called Practical Defense Systems because we want to keep things practical. And what we're talking about today is, obviously, revolvers for home defense. Now this is a Smith & Wesson Model 66, and it's in extremely good shape. I actually bought it used. This was a law enforcement or security company trade-in. I don't remember which, but it had been carried a lot and shot a little. It locks up nice and tight, and you'll notice it's an older revolver because you can see the firing pin is attached to the actual hammer, and you don't see that too much anymore. Now you see them with a little different design where it's a flat hammer. And I can show you one of those. On this one, you can see the hammer is flat, and it strikes a different mechanism in here to hit the firing pin. It's considered safer. I don't know that it is, but it's considered safer. Not being a gunsmith, I couldn't tell you. But in any case, this is a full-size Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum revolver. Now, the 357 Magnum is arguably a very powerful handgun. Handguns are typically not powerful compared to rifles and shotguns, but where handguns are concerned, the 357 Magnum is considered a very good man-stopper, if you want to call it that, or self-defense cartridge. I'm not sure that inside your house it's the best thing to launch without ear protection because you're probably going to be, you know, deaf for a week. But you know, with some ear protection, it wouldn't be bad. It's also going to penetrate an awful lot of walls, probably. But anybody hit squarely with it is not going to want to fight with you anymore, I can tell you that. These particular guns, this particular model of firearm was very popular with police officers. My father did not carry one. He carried a Colt Python, but he also very much liked this particular revolver. Now, this thing is extremely accurate. Smith & Wessons tend to be, and very, very solidly built and very reliable. Again, I bought this one used, and I am going to put together a video on how to buy a gun used, so that when you buy a gun used, you get yourself a quality firearm and you know it's going to run for you. Some people are afraid to do that. I've shot this one quite a bit. It comes with target sights and a nice little orange insert right up here, and a very smooth, it has an extremely smooth trigger press. Once again, the Smith & Wesson Model 66. This is a K-frame revolver. Smith & Wesson has their revolvers listed by size according to the number of frame. So this is a K frame. An N frame is larger, and an L frame, if I have this correct, is somewhere in the middle. If you're obviously a Smith & Wesson expert and you want to comment on that, if I get that backwards, please feel free. We want to make sure we got the information correct. Now, next to that, I have a different revolver. This is a Smith & Wesson Model 10. This one is 38 special. It's also a K frame. The difference is it doesn't have the target sights. The sight is a groove that's cut into the top strap, but it has very big sights and a bull barrel. And this is I believe, a Model 1014. So it's a more modern version of the Model 10. I have shot this pistol a lot. It is one of my favorite revolvers, and it shoots extremely accurately. And oddly enough, I bought this one used too. You can see it had a little wear on the end of the barrel there where the finish was rubbed off. But other than that, it's been a fabulous gun for me, and I've really enjoyed it. Now, it just so happens that these guns can be used for home defense, and this one can shoot 38 special, and guess what? So can this one. And you'll hear people talk about 38 special, that's not powerful enough, that's an old pistol round and so on. Let me tell you what, there's a whole lot of dead people shot by police officers over 60 or 70 years who would tell you how wonderfully effective the 38 special is if they were alive to tell you, but they're not, because the 38 special is wonderfully effective. So if that's what you have, don't feel like you're some slouch about it. Just buy great home defense, personal defense ammunition, load your gun with it, and it'll get the job done. In fact, if I were to use this gun as a home defense gun, I probably wouldn't put .357 Magnums in it, just because I don't want to shoot them inside my house and go through 6 walls. I probably would put 38 special in it. Now, it's a personal decision, but the nice thing about a .357 Magnum like this is it gives you that flexibility. You can have more powerful or less powerful ammunition. With the Smith & Wesson Model 10, which is the same size frame but 38 special only, I also have the ability to put +P ammunition in it. And it's kind of upside down because I don't want to point it at myself, but you'll notice on the barrel, if you can see it, that it says 38 special +P. Now, +P just means it's got some additional power. You want to make sure before you put that in your gun that your gun is rated for it. And if it is, it should say it on the barrel. +P ammunition's got a little bit more punch to it, and that's what I would load in this gun. It's a heavy gun. It's very, like the Model 66, it's a joy to shoot, great trigger, and they're very, very heavy. Now, if you're interested in a full-size revolver like this, they are heavy, and there are other manufacturers that make them. These two happen to be Smith & Wesson. You'll also find Ruger makes a very fine revolver called a GP 100 that's a full-size revolver like this, or actually a little heavier than this one. I've seen some from Taurus, trying to think of other manufacturers off the top of my head, Charter Arms and so on. I don't know a lot about those individual ones because I don't have one. I do have a Taurus, but the other ones I've never owned, so I don't know. But perhaps if you've owned one, you might comment about it in the comments under the video to let other folks know what you've had as far as success rate is concerned and positive feelings about a particular brand. But these are both Smith & Wessons, and I can tell you from them they work really well. The Rugers work very well as well. Now, those were full size, and I'll hold them up for you again, and we'll close them up. These are full size K-frame Smith & Wessons, kind of a medium-sized frame revolver. Why is a full-sized revolver positive for home defense? Well, they're heavy, which means that your recoil on them is going to be very, very light. It doesn't, you can put powerful ammunition in them, and they're not going to beat you up. They're very controllable, and you don't have to conceal them because they're home defense guns. So they're going to be, on your nightstand, or you might find them, you might put them in a quick access pistol safe. You've probably seen those where you simply press the buttons on the top of the safe and it opens up. That's a good thing to have if you're concerned about kids or grandkids or whatever in your house getting into it, or your kids' friends coming over, so you might want to do that. But a heavy full-size revolver, duty-size revolver, like a police officer might have carried or a security officer might carry today, is going to be very easily controlled, very accurate, and allow you to put rounds on target very quickly and efficiently. Nice, smooth trigger on them. They're a joy to shoot. Now, as we get a little smaller, we start talking about smaller revolvers. This is a Ruger SP-101. Now, I have big hands, so I put a larger grip than the one that comes with it. The one that comes with it was quite a bit smaller and only came to here. But my hands are big, and I wanted a place for that pinky to go. So I changed the grip out on it. And you can do that. This is an example of what I talked about before, is the grips on revolvers are very easily changed. So if for some reason you want a smaller grip or larger grip, it's a real simple thing to actually take the entire grip panels off, the stock panels off, and replace the stock. And then you have a different size stock or grip, and it will fit you a little better. So that's something with revolvers that's very easy to do. Now, this is a 5-shot 357 Magnum. So if you look at the cylinder, you see there's only 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where the other 2 revolvers I just showed you were 6 shots. So when you get into a smaller revolver, a little smaller frame, a little smaller size, you gain in the sense that it's a little smaller and easier to handle, maybe a little lighter if you don't like a heavy pistol, but you lose a little bit in the capacity typically. So now you have 1 round less than you had before. And this is a 357 Magnum. You can put Magnum rounds in it. The problem with it is the barrel is very short. So if you put Magnum rounds in it, you got a flame that comes out about 6-8 inches out the front, and if it's nighttime and that's what's in front of your face, that's going to do all kinds of damage to your night vision, and you're going to see spots and everything else and nothing else there for 10 or 12 seconds. And that's not a good thing in a self-defense situation. So if I were carrying this, I probably would put 38 Special plus Ps in it. And so we're back to that again. Now, for a home defense, a full-size pistol might be better because you're not having to carry it around and you don't have to make sacrifices. However, if you're carrying it for concealed carry, you might want to have a smaller pistol because, let's face it, it's a lot easier to carry this one around than it is to carry this one around, because this one is smaller, it's a little bit lighter, and it's going to be a little easier to carry around on your hip or wherever you're carrying it. This monster is going to end up being what I call a left-it gun. They'll say, "Where's that big old gun of yours, Joel?" I left it. I left it in the truck, I left it in the briefcase, I left it in the backpack, I left it at home. It doesn't do me any good if I left it at home, so I need something that's a little smaller that might be an always gun. Where's your gun, Joel? Oh, it's in my, it's on my hip or wherever, and it's a smaller gun, and so I've always got it. Well, that's the compromise that you make to carry a gun, because if you're not carrying it, that'll be the day that you need the darn thing. So it's a good thing to have it with you. There's no reason to make that compromise at home and have a gun that's harder to shoot, doesn't weigh as much, has more recoil, has a shorter sight radius or maybe not as nice as sights, and has less ammunition. Why are you making all those compromises for a home defense gun when it's just sitting in your nightstand or sitting in your home defense quick access pistol safe, and you're not having to lug it around all day in the heat of the day? So there's one. That's a that's a Ruger SP-101. It is a fine revolver. You'll find Ruger and Smith & Wesson both make outstanding revolvers. You can't go wrong, I think, in my humble opinion, with either one. And then I've got a little smaller one here. This is a Taurus Model 85. Now, this is what people will affectionately call a snubby revolver. And that's just called a snubby because it's got this little snubby barrel on the end. And this is a 38 Special. This happens to be one of my always guns. Now, these are made by, this one happens to be made by Taurus USA. The one that my business partner carries around happens to be made by Smith & Wesson. Ruger makes them. I think you can get them from Charter Arms. There's other manufacturers that make these. Find the one that you like the best. Just make sure it's 100% reliable. Will always go bang. I've probably put 600 or 700 rounds or 800 rounds through this thing since I bought it, and it just runs like a Swiss watch, so I happen to like it a lot. This is an all-steel version, so it's a little bit heavier, and it tends to tame the recoil of a little hotter 38 Special rounds. My business partner's is an ultralight, and it's a little bit more painful to shoot because it's made out of a lighter material. This is made of steel. His is made of a very light material and comparatively doesn't weigh much. It's a lot easier to carry around, but if you're going to take it to the range and shoot it a lot, it's a lot less comfortable and not nearly the joy to shoot that an all-steel gun is. So you have to figure that out. Again, we're talking about compromises. If this is a gun you're going to carry around in your pocket or in a holster, this fits beautifully in a pocket holster, goes in a pocket. If you're going to carry it on a hip holster or something along those lines, you'll find that a small pistol like this is going to be an always gun. You're always going to have it because it's easy to carry around. And a lighter one is even easier to carry around. But again, we're talking about sacrifices. I got to conceal it. So I need it to be smaller, not full size. You see the difference, it's enormous. I need it to be smaller and I need it to be lighter, but you know what, I make some sacrifices. It's not going to be inherently as accurate because the barrel is shorter and the sight radius, the distance between the front sight and the back sight is shorter. And the grip, if I have a full-size pistol, guess what I've got? I got a full-size grip. I'm not sacrificing anything on my grip. However, if I have a diminutive little pistol like this snubby, I don't have a full-size grip, and so I'm kind of missing something here on the bottom, which means, guess what? These are both firing the same ammunition. This one's heavier. I got a full-size grip. It's not going to be as difficult to handle. It's going to be a lot easier to shoot well, and it's going to be a lot more comfortable to shoot. This one, same ammunition. It's got a diminutive little grip, which means it's going to be a bit of a, I got a tiger by the tail, a little bit harder to hang on to, a little bit harder to shoot well perhaps, and maybe not nearly as comfortable and not quite the joy to shoot. But I make those compromises because I can carry this one. There's the other difference is with this one, I have 6 holes there, which means I got 6 shots before I have to reload it. With this one, because it's a smaller gun, smaller frame, I only have 5. So I got to make do with 5 rounds because it's going to be a little slower to reload than, say, a semi-automatic pistol, which we'll talk about in the next video. Now, that gives you an idea about home defense and carry guns. My suggestion would be, if you're carrying a gun and you have a concealed carry permit, that you get yourself an always gun. It can be a small revolver like this. We'll look at smaller semi-automatic pistols in the next video. But something small that you can put in a pocket or that you're going to carry with you all the time, and it's going to be your always gun. It's not ideal for fighting, but you know what? You've got it with you. I have students all the time ask me, what's the best gun to defend myself with? And my universal answer is the gun you've got with you. Whatever gun you've got with you at the time, that's the best gun in the world for you to defend yourself with at that particular moment. The one that is a big old monster and it's 105 degrees out and you left it at home, that's a left-it gun. That'd be a lot better gun to defend yourself with, but you can't, because guess what? You left it. You got to deal with the one that you got. All right, so that's the way that works. Now, if it's a home defense gun, I strongly urge you to buy a full-size revolver. If you're going to go with the revolver platform, buy yourself a full-size one so you have a full-size grip. You got a nice gun that's you got a piece of something in your hand. It's heavy enough. It's going to tame the recoil, and you have as many shots as you can possibly get in that particular design. Now, having said that, that's ideals. We're talking about ideals where revolvers are concerned. But you know what? Some people don't make a lot of money, or maybe some people can't afford to buy another gun. Maybe the only one they have is not the most ideal, but it might get the job done. And I've got a couple of examples of those. They're not perfect, but hey, they might work. And I will tell you that if you have a gun, any gun is better than no gun at all. Here's a great example. This is a Ruger Single 6, and it is a great pistol. I love it. I've hunted with it a lot. And it right now has a cylinder in it that shoots 22 long rifle. Now, it's a single action pistol, so this cylinder does not swing out. It's a single action revolver. You have to load it by just like in the old West days. You have to load it and you push the expended one out, then you have to feed them in there one at a time as you turn the cylinder around. So in a defensive situation, however many it holds, that's probably what you got, and you're not going to have time to reload it and put more. This particular gun carries 6 rounds. Now, unlike a double action revolver, if I press the trigger, it won't do anything. I have to manually cock it. Well, that causes 2 problems. One, that's one more thing for me to have to do in the heat of the moment when I'm scared to death in the middle of the night in the dark. The other thing is that now the trigger press is so light that if I sneeze, somebody next to me sneezes, belches or something, that thing's probably going to go bang if my finger's on the trigger. So I really would have to practice with it to make sure I was operating it safely and not putting my finger on the trigger, keeping it up here, and not putting it down there until I know I had decided to shoot at that moment, and maybe not even cock it until I had a threat right in front of me. That's going to take a lot of practice and a lot of training, but if this is what you own, maybe your grandfather left it to you or whatever, and it's functional and it works, and maybe it's a 22, maybe it's a larger caliber, but if this is what you own and you can't afford to buy something else, you know what? This will get the job done a lot of the time. If it's a 22, what's going to become very important is shot placement. Where do you shoot the bad guy, the person that's attacking you? If you shoot them in the wrong place, then a 22 is not going to do much to them right at the moment. It might kill them later on or hospitalize them later on, but you need to stop the fight right now. So this is an opportunity for you to take that gun then, buy some ammunition, go to the range and practice, practice, practice. Make sure you can run it efficiently and safely and well and put rounds on target with great ease, even under stress. And then you've got a tool that, you know what? It'll get the job done. As I said, the best gun to have in a self-defense that to fight with is the one you have with you. And if this is what you have or something similar, put it to work. Now, the nice thing about this gun is it also comes with a different cylinder. And if you have one of these, this particular gun comes with a cylinder for 22 Magnum. Now, if I were having it for self-defense, I would take this cylinder out, which is a very easy proposition, and I would put this one in. All you got to do is take out that little doohickey right there, the little rod, take that one out. That's a technical term, doohickey. Obviously, I'm a firearms instructor. I know these things. And then you have to put that one in like that. Hopefully you can see this. And now, guess what you got? Now you have a 22 Magnum with 6 shots of 22 Magnum, and you might want to use that for self-defense because this is a much more powerful cartridge than simple 22 long rifle. It's still not ideal, but it's a lot closer to getting the job done than what you had before. So I want to make sure you understand it's a matter of practicality. If you can afford to buy a center fire revolver like one of these, you're much better off. But if what you have is a 22 or a single action revolver, learn to run the gun and you should be able to defend yourself with it reasonably. Now here's another extreme. This was left to me by my dad. He bought it for fun, and when he passed away they left it for me. My dad was a deputy sheriff. This is an American Derringer, is the name of the company, I believe, and they made this Derringer. It's very fine Derringer. It's very well made. It's made out of stainless steel. It's heavy, heavy, heavy. It's a 357 Magnum Derringer. I've shot 38s through it. If you ever wanted to shoot it and ran into me and you wanted to put magnums through it, I would say don't do it. I've done it and it's extremely painful, and it's only 2 shots. But you know what? If your grandfather left you a fine one like a Bond Derringer or an American Derringer, both very good guns, and you only got 2 shots, well, that's 2 more than you'd have if you didn't have this gun. And if you couldn't afford another gun, same thing. Take this to the range, practice with it. It's a close-up gun. You're not going to shoot very far, very accurately with it. But you know, up close and personal, you've got 2 shots before you have to run or hide or fight back in some other fashion. Not perfect, not ideal, but you know what? It would get the job done as long as you can shoot it accurately. So these are the extremes of what you might have as an heirloom or something. As long as it's a quality firearm and it runs perfectly, if that's all you have, I would say put that to work. You're one of the good guys. We got to make sure the good guys are safe. A little high. There we go. That was pretty quick. That's a good one. Let's try the one in the middle. Let's try the one in the middle. There, we got him. 1, 2, 3, and please like us, subscribe, or wherever the button is, and maybe share us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.